Alright, so in this video, we're going to create a script to generate QR code images in bulk. So let me show you what I have as a setup here. I have a folder QR in my computer. In that folder, I have this Excel file called urls.xlsx. And that's this file right here. In this file, I have this headers, URL, and file name. This is the URLs listed in this first column A, and I have file names in the second column. So we're gonna use this data in first column to generate the QR code, and we're gonna name the file, which is the image file, with these names on the second column. And I'm just gonna have these 4 links. You could have as many links as you want. It should work just the same way. So to follow this tutorial, you will need a few things installed on your computer. The first thing you're gonna need Node.js. So you can download Node.js by going to nodejs.org. The link is right up here. Hopefully you can see it, nodejs.org. You'll just download, probably recommended version is fine. Just download that, and it's pretty much just a straightforward setup. You just open the package, next, until it installs. And this is available for Mac. It's also available for Windows, so you should be able to download it on whatever platform you want to use. And the second piece of software we need is a text editor. In this case, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. And you can download that by going to code.visualstudio.com. And that will get you to this page. You'll download the software right here by clicking on this download button. Again, available for Windows or Mac or Linux for that matter. And you can just install that as well. Just straightforward next should get you through the installation. Both of these pieces of software are free. Downloading Node.js is free. Visual Studio Code is free. So once you have these 2 pieces of software installed, you want to go ahead and open this one, Visual Studio Code. And when you open it, it is going to look similar to this. And in Visual Studio Code, you want to go ahead and open that folder where we have that basically Excel file. So you would do that by going under File menu on top and doing Open, or if you're in Windows, I think it says Open Folder. And navigate and find that folder and open it, and that should show you all the files in that folder. So right now you can see there's this URLs. There's also this thing in here. That's because the file is open, this Excel file, and there's that hidden file showing up there, so that's fine. So what I'm also gonna do in this folder, I'm also gonna add another folder in this folder, and I'm gonna call this images. That's going to be the folder where we're going to be basically just adding all our images generated by our code. And you can see it shows up here now too. So now with that, we should be pretty much ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Visual Studio Code and create a new file by rolling over this icon little plus on the left. And I'm going to call this QR generator.js. This is where we're going to write our script. You can do Control Command plus to zoom in, Control Command minus to zoom out on this. You also want to open the terminal. So if you go on top, menus on top under view, you're going to find this option for terminal. You want to go ahead and open that, and that should open this terminal window in the bottom. So in this terminal window, we're going to run a few commands. So the first thing we need to do, we need to initialize our Node project. So all of these commands are going to be available because you will have Node.js installed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do npm space, and we'll do init, and that will initialize a project. And it's basically going to ask us a bunch of questions. I'm just going to hit enter for all of them. And that should just create this package.json file, which is fine. So the next commands we're going to run, we're going to install a couple of packages here that we're going to need. The first one is going to be npm install, and we're going to do dash save space again. And the package we're going to install here is xlsx. So that's one package. So if I run this, see, it will download and install that package. And the second one I'm going to do, which is pretty much the same line, it's going to be npm install -- save and a space and the package name we want to install, which is going to be QR code. So one is XLSX, we're going to use to read Excel files, and we're going to also install QR code, which is going to basically help us generate our QR codes. So I'm going to hit enter. That will download and install that. So we're done. Everything is installed. We're ready to go. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go on top here and I'm going to import that QR code package. And let's just start by generating one image for one URL. So I'm going to do a constant type of variable. I'm going to do const keyword, call it QR. That's fine, just like that. So I'm going to make it equal to, and we're going to say require. And the package we want to require is that package called QR code. Semicolon to finish that line. We're going to require another package, and we're going to give this Excel name. Maybe we'll do this uppercase QR. Just make sure you remember whatever you type. JavaScript is case sensitive language, so you have to make sure you match it. So I'm going to make it again equal to, and we're going to require. And for this, we're going to require that XLSX package, both packages we just installed here in our terminal. So Excel we're going to use later. Right now, let's try to use that QR package to generate a QR code. So if I do QR dot, see, it will give us different methods. And one of those is toFile. And that's what we're going to use. So I'm going to do toFile, open parentheses. And the first thing we have to do the path string. What that path string means is the folder where it needs to go and the image name. So the folder we named images right here. So in quotes, we're going to type images. That's the folder name. And then put the slash. And for now, we'll just put some image name. I'll just say test.png. That's going to be in PNG format, comma, and that will take us to the second parameter, which is going to be the data text we need to use to generate this QR code. So if that's a link, like a hyperlink, that would be again encodes the hyperlink. So I'll do something like HTTPS : and we'll do something like youtube.com. So you could also do an SVG format if you wanted to. So if you want like a vector format, you would do .svg. I'm just going to do .png. That's fine for me. So for now, let's just do a semicolon here. I'm going to go ahead and save this with Command S or Control S to save what we've done here. And let's just run this code right here. So this code is in this file called qrgenerator.js. And to run that, we're going to go to our terminal down here and we're going to type node space and the name of that file. So that's qrgenerator, and you can do .js or you can skip the .js part. It will figure out it's a JavaScript file anyways. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter. It ran, did something, whatever it did. So let's go to our images folder to see if we got anything. So if I go to my images folder, see I have this test PNG file. And if I double click on that, we have a QR code. Now that was pretty good, but that image size was very small. So let's make that bigger. So we're going to go here, add a comma, and add our curly brackets here for an object. And we're going to provide a width for this. So that's going to be in pixels. So I'm going to do something like 500. Let me make this smaller a little bit here so you can see the whole line. So there it is. I'm going to rerun this. I'm going to go here, up key to write that same node, the file name, run the same thing, go back, and now we have a new file. If I open this, see that's a larger image now. And again, you can just play around. You can make it bigger, smaller, whatever size you want it to be. That should be in pixels. So I'm going to just get rid of that. So far we've created a piece of code that basically just generate our file. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically convert this to a function. So I'll go here and create a function, call it create QR. And in this function, we're going to accept two parameters, file name, and the second parameter will be the data, which could be URL or a phone number or whatever it is you're generating this QR codes for, maybe text. And I'm basically just going to move this thing in here inside of this function. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So I'm going to replace this YouTube thing with that data that's coming from here. And here I'm going to just do a little concatenation. So I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to get out of this text and add that file name parameter and then do another plus and get back to this .png. So there should be just one quotation here, just like this. So to actually use that function, we're going to just grab that. And instead of the file name, we're just going to pass the file name as text. I'm not sure what's going on with me typing today, but there it is. So we'll just call this my file. And then the data we pass to create the QR code. So something like, so that should run exactly the same way. So if I run this code, that will run that. And if I go back, see we have this my file PNG, which again is a QR code. So I'm going to get rid of these two files. Back to this. So far we have a function that generates the QR code. We are not going to use it yet. So I'm just going to get rid of it for now. We'll use it in just a little bit. Now let's move to getting to our Excel file. So let's try to go grab this Excel file and read it with our code. And that Excel file is this file called urls.xlsx. So we can use this Excel now variable, and that has a parameter read file. And the file we're going to read is that file called urls.xlsx. XLSX dot, and then we're going to have our sheets in that file that we read. And we're going to get the first one, which is the index 0. The reason I'm getting the first one is because I have just one right here. That's the first one, sheet 1. And I'm going to save it in a variable. I'll say constant ws equals to that. That's our worksheet. Now we're going to read that to an array. So I'll do another constant here. I'll do data equals to, and I'll take that Excel again. That Excel again is coming from here, from this import dot. And here I'm going to go to utils to get to utilities. And here we're going to have, see this sheet to JSON, open parentheses, and that will accept a worksheet, which is this WS we got on top. Just like that. So let's just try to console.log that data to see what it looks like. So I don't want to run this QR code anymore, so it will just sit in this function. That's looking good. So I'm going to go back and run this code after we save this. So apparently that gave us nothing, an empty array. So it's probably here we have to do the name of the sheet, not the index. So the name of the worksheet here is called sheet 1. I'm going to try that. Copy that, go back and replace this in quotes and run this again instead of doing 0 as an index. We'll go back in here. All right, so now we get some data back. So that should be, see that URL column that has this and a file name column that has this, and then URL file name. So we're able to read the file, the data came back. This is basically an array right here. And now we can loop through that array. So what we're gonna do, data dot, and we're gonna do a for each loop. And this will accept a function And that function will have a parameter, and each time that parameter is going to be one of these basically rows in our spreadsheet. So I'm going to do R, short for row. So for each row, we want to use the URL and the file name. See, the URL is the name of the column coming here. File name is the name of the column coming from this second column. So we need the URL column to get this link, and we need the file name to get the file name. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go back and start using that function. So the function we did was create QR. And in this function, the first parameter should be the file name. So the file name is going to come from that row. So that's the R. And the name of the column is file name, uppercase, comma. And then the second parameter should be the actual URL that we need to convert to a QR code. So that's going to be r.url. That's basically the row and the column name from our spreadsheet, URL and file name. Save this. I think we're done. So now let's go back and rerun this code. So it ran the code really quickly. We don't have that many things happening here. Let's go back and check our folder. See, we have 4 files. We have this. That's one for Bing. This is one for Google. This is one for the main website there. And this is one for YouTube. I'm going to scan one of this to make sure that these QR codes work. I'm going to use my phone for this. You should be able to test this on your phone if you just probably point your phone to the video. Works well. So let me just do this one more time. So let's just do it for a couple of more things here. I'm going to delete all of these. Let's go back and add a couple of other lines here. Maybe we'll try a phone number this time. I think you have to have the full format, but I'm not sure. Maybe the shorter version works too. So I'll call this one phone 1 and phone 2. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to put a phone number without that stuff in front to see what happens. And we'll call it phone 3. I'm going to make sure I save this file, Command S. So now I have my new file. Let's go back and rerun our code. All right, so invalid argument. So that code failed at some point. I want to see what we have so far. So we basically were able to work on all of these with exception of that phone 3. Now I'm not sure if that's because this is invalid or this should be text. So let's actually convert this number to text and try one more time. So I'm going to save this. And I can make it text in Excel by adding an apostrophe in front of it. So I'll go back and rerun the same thing. So that went through fine. So that generated all of these. See all of these numbers. Now I want to see what happens when I scan some of these phone numbers too. All right, so that first one worked on my phone just fine. Let me try this. Well, the second one should now work too because it kind of works the same way. That's good. Now let me try the third one. That one works too, as far as I can tell. So that my phone picked up, at least for US numbers. I guess you don't have to do the whole thing. And we have our YouTube link, which opens up the channel in YouTube. Excellent. So all of that works. Definitely some improvements could be made. So right now, there is no error handling. And we could also have some sort of message when the whole thing is done. But for something that works and generates some bulk stuff, this is just fine. The only thing I'm going to do in this function, I'm just going to do some try and catch. So instead of there are errors, at least it tells us there's an error. So we're going to do a try and catch block here. And we'll basically just try to do this. And we'll do our catch. Which will be the error. We'll just do a simple message here. So that will log to our console when something goes wrong. So we'll just say file name. So we'll say error creating file colon, and then we'll do plus the file name. So this way we'll know at least which files didn't work if we have a large list. So now if I go back and recreate that error by converting this to a number, which it didn't accept apparently. We're gonna go back and reload this. So that should throw an error message for this. See, now we get this error creating file phone3. So that's good. And that should do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.